Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mogul Motivation. This is episode 297. And there's not a person on this earth that was born with the thought of being poor. It's not a person on this earth that was born with the thought of living a mundane lifestyle. It's not a person on this earth that was born that said they want to be homeless. No one is born with those thoughts. Society puts people in those circumstances. Racism, capitalism puts people in those circumstances. And it's very unfortunate. And although many of us may not be living in circumstances like that, we may not be poor per se. We're working class, but we're not poor. We may not be homeless, but we're still living in conditions and circumstances that we didn't envision for ourselves. I look back over the course of my life, and I went through some very, very dark moments. Very dark moments. And literally the only way I got through those dark areas in my life, those dark tunnels, is because my faith served as a flashlight. It cut through that darkness for me, and it illuminated each step that I had to take to get to where I wanted to be, to get out of those dark areas, those dark tunnels in my life. Never forget that your faith is what's really going to illuminate the path for you to get to where you want to go. And that's just a fact. Now, I'm not telling you don't be afraid. I'm not telling you don't be frustrated. I'm not telling you don't feel uneasy, because that's natural. You're human. You're going to feel these emotions. But what I am telling you is you cannot lose heart, and you cannot lose the will to keep going forward. Because if you lose the will to keep going forward, you're going to end up in an unfortunate circumstance like I just mentioned. You might not be homeless. You might not be living in impoverished conditions, but you will not live the life you want. And I'm not telling you it's your fault. What I'm telling you is we are up against forces that are very, very powerful, forces that are greater than us. But we have something that's greater than those forces, which is our faith. Like I said, our faith will serve as our flashlight, and our flashlight can cut through all of that darkness. It can cut through capitalism. It can cut through racism. It can cut through any obstacle that's stopping you from accomplishing your goals and your dreams. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight. And that's where a lot of people mess up at too, because we think just because we pray, we think just because we have ambition, we think just because we work hard, we think just because this is what we want, this is something that we desire, that is going to come easy in a snap, and it's not. It's going to take years. It's going to take a long time. Like I just told y'all, I went through some very dark moments in my life, and I can tell you right now, those dark moments outweigh, well, I'm not going to say outweigh, but they have lasted longer thus far in my life than the good moments. Now, I do believe the latter half of my life, and hopefully I live a long and fruitful life, that the light will outlast the darkness. But at this moment, at the age of 32, I went through more dark years than I have through good years. But that doesn't discourage me, and that doesn't stop me from continuing to go down the path and accomplish my goals. You see, you have to trust the genius in you. If you look back over your life, whether it's your childhood, your teenage years, your young adult years, whatever period it may be, it may have been a dark period. It may have been ugly. Things may have been miserable for you. You may have been frustrated. But if you look back over the course of your life, you have always had ideas. You have always had dreams. You have always had strategies to elevate your life and your family's life, and in many cases, hopefully your community's life. You have always had genius plans in your mind. But because the way society is set up the way it's set up, because this world is set up the way it's set up, because we live around negativity, we're surrounded by misery, you tend to ignore that genius in your life and listen to everything else. You listen to people who don't even have the courage to do what you're going to do, that tell you it can't be done. You listen to laws and policies that tell you can't do this. You get so discouraged, and I'm not blaming you, because it happens. It happened to me. You get so discouraged that you abandon these genius ideas. You abandon these genius strategies. Trust the genius inside you. Trust that light bulb. Do not ignore that, because just how I said that flashlight is your faith, your light bulb is you. You are the genius. Trust the genius. Stop trusting everybody else. Stop trusting everything else except for you. How would you feel if you kept telling people things And everybody ignored you. Everybody said, no, I don't trust you. That's how your inner self feels when you do that to yourself. Stop ignoring yourself. Stop disregarding yourself. Trust the genius inside you. That business plan you got, execute it. That idea you have, execute it. Whatever it is, whatever goal you have is there for a reason. Light bulbs don't light up by accident. Every light bulb lights up for a reason. And it's that genius inside you. Do not abandon that idea. I don't care if it was 3 years ago. I don't care if it was 5 years ago. I don't care if it was your childhood dream. Revisit it and continue to go forward. Because see, the thing about light bulbs, they never go out. They may dim a little bit, but they ain't never going to go out. The light bulb in you will never go out. Just how your faith, that flashlight is never going to go out. Even if you don't use it, it's always going to be there. It's always going to have some type of illumination. Even if it's dim, when you abandon it, it may get dim, but you have to revisit it and give it the attention that it deserves. And it's going to light up again. And when it lights up again, it's going to start to illuminate that path step by step in that darkness. And then once you get out that darkness, it's going to shine even brighter. You see, nothing shines brighter than the sun. The sun is the brightest light anybody can find on planet Earth. Nothing shines brighter than the sun, and there is no such thing as darkness when the sun is around. That's why you have to continue to go forward. That's why you have to trust your genius. That's why you cannot abandon that flashlight. That's your faith. Continue to go through the tunnel. Continue to walk that path, despite how dark it may be, despite how miserable you may be, despite how frustrated you may be, despite how discouraged you may be. You can still make it happen. I promise you that. Because I went through it myself. I'm telling y'all, I was surrounded by negative people, mundane people, people who didn't have confidence or courage. I was surrounded by people like this, and they were feeding this to me for a long time. I'm talking about family and friends. This is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. But I kept my faith. I kept that flashlight. And I continued to trust the genius inside me. I continued to give that light bulb energy that kept telling me, you need to start a podcast, Mogul Motivation. I kept listening to that genius, that light bulb inside me that said you need to write that book. I kept listening to that genius, that light bulb inside me that said start your business, quit that job. I kept listening to the genius inside me. And that's what you have to do, regardless of what your goals is, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish. I'm trying to tell you, it's not there just to be there. It's not there for a coincidence. It's there for a reason. Trust the genius inside you. So that's my message this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue to work. Let's continue to imagine reality. It might be dark in your life. It might be hell in your life. But you can get through it. I promise you, you can. Even if you got to go to therapy, even if you got to seek help, even if you got to ask people for help, it does not matter. You can get through it as long as you have your faith as your flashlight and as long as you pay attention to that light bulb inside you. Trust your genius, ladies and gentlemen. If this podcast has benefited you in any way, shape, or form, I ask for two things as always. Number one, leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may benefit from it as well. Have a great day. I'll talk to you next week.